volunteer firefighters lend out support to fire department during the pandemic, contributing their share to society. Tzu Chi volunteers in Malacca provides timely food and cash subsidies for impoverished families to relieve their difficulties. 歡迎收睇大 Headlines， 我係 Ruby 我哋一齊嚟睇下今日嘅內容。Firefighters normally fight fires and help in other such emergencies. However, after the pandemic broke out in Taiwan, they have also taken on the task of transporting COVID patients to the hospital. As confirmed cases have increased on a daily basis, additional manpower is needed to support this situation. Thankfully, there are volunteer firefighters who can lend some support during this difficult time. Let's take a look.
Receiving their mission, the firefighters immediately set out to action. Wearing protective gear, gloves, and an N95 mask, the firefighters are sealed in from head to toe. 2 volunteer firefighters are there to help them put on everything before heading out.
In the beginning, we had nearly 20 pandemic missions a day, and now it's 2 or 3 a day. Each time, it takes more than 10 minutes to suit up with our safety gear. In the beginning, since the hospitals weren't equipped as well, we often had to wait in a vehicle for longer periods of time. In the end, we'd have to spend nearly 2 hours on each run.
Hogang Fire Department is one of the 4 branches qualified for advanced cardiac life support. Thus, they have been asked to transport confirmed COVID patients to the hospital. However, after delivering the patients, their work is not over yet. Just like the 3 categories for injuries, the firefighters take off their protective gear in 3 sections: red, yellow, and green. At the same time, 2 volunteer firefighters will don protective gear to help. When their partner has been fully disinfected, the volunteer firefighters will then head to the vehicle to disinfect and clean it.
The firefighters already have a difficult job and are doing so much. When they return, they still have to disinfect the vehicle, which can be a testing job. So as a volunteer, since I can't support them in the vehicle, if I can share some of their other tasks, then I can lend my support.
Volunteer firefighter Guo Shuzhen usually works at a long-term care station, but during this new wave of the pandemic, she now does 2 days a week volunteering, supporting the fire station.
I'm actually really proud that I can do this, but my family may feel I spend too much time here and will tire myself out. My family is just worried about my safety and health.
During the pandemic, Huang Guolian also is an active volunteer firefighter. He joined in 1996 as a promise he made for his daughter's health. Back then, the platelets of his daughter were low, and he donated his blood to fight for her health.
I've always been interested in this type of work, and through the natural disasters such as the 9/21 earthquake, the Formosa Fun Park explosion, and the Trans-Airway accident, I saw the impact of life and death. It was through those events that I feel like people should live with an open mind.
Taking off his volunteer firefighter uniform, Huang owns a coffee shop. Due to the level 3 pandemic alert in Taiwan, Huang's business has been impacted greatly. Thankfully, he looked at it in a positive view.
It's like giving myself a challenge. Since I'm out of work anyway, there must be someone out there that needs my help and is in a worse situation than I am. So I thought if I can get over this hurdle, then I've succeeded. The second thing I thought of was that in my contributing my share, I can help the overall results for us to all move forward. In that moment, besides my own benefit, I can help contribute to society, which helps me find inner peace.
This is just like the coffee that Huang sells, sweet with a hint of bitter. Putting aside his business and cooperating with the fire department to share in the responsibility of the firefighters, both Huang and Guo know this is not a battle they can afford to lose.
身为北市救护医生，我觉得很骄傲。
希望生者平安，亡者心安。北市救护医校，赞！
5 Jingsu halls in New Taipei City has been provided as large-scale vaccination sites after the vaccination began in mid-June. In Sanchong Jingsu Hall, apart from the Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital's medical team, senior Tzu Chi volunteer Luo Meizhu went there to serve every day and even brought with her granddaughter and friends to contribute.
This is our master's blessing charm. After you go back, if your friends fall into the age group, please tell them hurry up to receive the vaccination.
This lady who warmly shared the blessing charm with the vaccine recipients is 71-year-old Tzu Chi volunteer Luo Meizhu. After Tzu Chi land of 5 Jingsu halls as large-scale vaccination sites in New Taipei City, she went to Sanchong grants to serve every day.
At least 8 or 9 people out of 10 implied that they were quite nervous to receive vaccination. When they see these medical personnel and volunteers accompanying them and guide them so kindly, their heart will settle down. I think this is the part that volunteers can do.
It is this mother's heart that makes many people feel at ease. Although the mask has brought her smile, her eye and eyebrows have conveyed warmth. Even though she suffers from plantar fasciitis, she is still willing to give.
It's still painful, but I think it's easy to spend time like this. I just took Panadol again. I think I can still overcome it.
On this day, her granddaughter Chen Yian, Huang Liying, and Huang's sisters joined her as volunteers. They all wanted to seize this opportunity to serve others.
Because some elders are illiterate, so I help them fill in the forms. Although it is very hard and tiring, I'm very happy.
Like I accompanied my dad to get the vaccine before, I saw how hard the medical personnel over there worked. They were all wet. Today, when I put on this protective clothing, my whole body is really sweaty. It's all wet inside. I really experienced the feeling, yet I'm still happy to give.
The medical team and volunteers have worked hard for more than a month and have formed a good affinity with the community. On this day, Brother Chief has handmade a drink to treat everyone.
Our Tzu Chi volunteers really contribute diligently. Seeing them work so hard, we are all very happy. I hope everyone can be safe and healthy. Let's do well in pandemic prevention so that the virus can go away soon.
My relatives suggested to come here to get the vaccination. Many of them said the environment here is good and the service is good too. So my husband and I both came here to get the vaccine.
To fight against the pandemic, people were waiting to get the vaccine. Although they have kept a safe social distance with others, the care of volunteers help bring everyone closer together. In the vaccination sites at Xindian Jingsi Hall, there were 2 couples of husband and wife who worked together to serve. They said that this has not only helped vaccination go smoothly, but their communication topics have also been increased.
When Xindian Jingsi Hall undertook the vaccination work, many volunteers came to help. Among them were 2 volunteer couples. Zheng Lilang assists in calling the number at the check-in area, and his wife Li Jin was in health insurance and confirmation area. In the past, the 2 trained as volunteers together, and this time they volunteered at the same location.
Medical staff are working harder. We as volunteers can do our best to help.
We go out together and go home together. In the past, we volunteered separately. We will discuss it when we go home.
Li Guiwan, who helped people take their temperature and confirm their identities, used to serve at Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital. After retiring, he joined with his wife to volunteer in the community.
It's happier here because it can serve others, and it's better to come out together.
I don't have any needs. I'm very happy. The kids are all big. My husband and I are volunteers. We all have to take turns.
The community vaccination is assisted by about 20 volunteers every day. With their contributions, the process is smoother.
Because of their help, we have reduced cluster and environmental hardware pollution, so that when everyone is vaccinated here, the people in the community will feel more at ease.
Tzu Chi volunteers are not afraid of hot weather and only want people to be vaccinated quickly and smoothly.
In the face of the Level 3 alert, 67-year-old Guo Meirong is not afraid. Not only did she devote herself wholeheartedly to serve, she also brought with her husband to serve as pandemic prevention volunteers in Daning Tzu Hospital for 2 months.
During the pandemic, when everyone was afraid to approach the hospital, Guo Meirong decided to serve as a volunteer at the gate of the hospital.
If we all hold back, what should the medical staff do? They are on the front line and are not afraid. What are we afraid of?
Since 2008, she has been medical volunteer training. She not only devote herself fully, but also let her husband to serve patients together.
When she is volunteering for epidemic prevention or admission information, she is very enthusiastic and she is willing to do everything. She is a volunteer that we admire very much.
She always wore a smile on her face like a lamp to guide the disoriented patients.
The patients are very willing to cooperate. If I ask them to take off their hats, they will take off their hats and they will come over for me to take a look. These bodhisattvas in our parts are very friendly.
Everyone who sees every opportunity and happily gives will be able to provide the hardest frontline medical staff with the strongest support.
To promote vegetarianism, Tainan Tzu volunteer deliver vegetarian meals to clinics and police officers who are struggling to carry out pandemic prevention work. These meals are made by a volunteer who runs a Japanese-style vegetarian restaurant. She used to sell meat dishes, but after certification, she decided to go totally vegetarian.
Boil the vegetables, wrap them in seaweed and rice, and roll them with hands. This vegetarian sushi is ready to eat, along with side dishes, which make it a healthy lunchbox. Tzu Chi volunteers made these anti-pandemic veggie lunches and sent them to the police station and cleaning teams. As soon as they were open, there were shouts of joy.
Ooh, I'm from Tzu Chi. I'm a member. It's good.
Speaking of Tzu Chi, this person from the fire department also feels honored to be one of the members.
I myself was also the Tzu Chi before. Because of COVID, I do eat vegetarian food as long as I go to work, so I have a really grateful heart.
Bodhi seeds in his heart made him feel grateful. When he worked hard for the pandemic, he took a bite of sushi and gained strength. This pandemic prevention lunchbox was mainly inspired by Lai Ching-wen, who ran a Japanese restaurant before getting certified 12 years ago.
During the period when I made my wish to change to vegetarian, I probably didn't sell any sashimi for 2 days. In terms of turnover and performance, it's not okay. But I thought to myself, it's the way to change to vegetarian, and I felt great relief.
While business was poor, she saw it as an opportunity for the restaurant to turn to vegetarianism. Now she is a great aid in promoting vegetarianism. She plans dishes and makes pandemic prevention when the restaurant is closed, which becomes a place for her and her volunteers to give happily.
The body is tired, but the heart is very happy. Sometimes I'm so happy that I can't sleep.
In Malaysia, the pandemic has impacted the economies and lives of many families. So the volunteers in Malacca hosted an aid distribution for impoverished families, providing them with much needed food and cash subsidies in time to relieve their anxious mind.
Comparing prices and then choosing better quality materials, the volunteers in Malacca were purchasing daily necessities, hoping to deliver them to the families in need in the shortest possible time.
The relief should be carried out in the shortest possible time because when these people called, they were really short of supplies. Almost every family is about to run out of food. So as soon as we get the approval, we immediately came to do the purchase.
Recently, the pandemic in Malaysia rages again, and the movement restriction order has been extended endlessly, causing more and more people to live in difficulties. Serena's family was once a Tzu Chi recipient. Volunteers were worried if the family also needed food, so they visited the family again.
Thank you, Tzu Chi volunteers. No matter what happens, they will always keep us in mind. I would like to thank Tzu Chi for giving us help. We hope Master Jin Yan will be very happy and healthy. Even though we can't meet the Master and our distance is far away, we always keep her in our mind.
I'm working in construction contracting. After the pandemic broke out, the income of our family has reduced a lot. This pandemic has really affected our lives. Thank you, Tzu Chi, for helping us.
Because of the pandemic, I haven't worked for 2 months. Plus, my past knee problems has occurred again, and it has lasted for 3 years. So thank you very much for Tzu Chi's help.
The supplies sent by volunteers were timely, solving the food shortage crisis of many families.
Harapkan sumbangan tunai kecemasan ini dapat melaksanakan kesukaran Anda dan membawa ketenangan kepada Anda.
In the midst of a pandemic, volunteers' love is not interrupted, caring for every family in need continuously.
The spread of the pandemic in Malaysia has caused a senior home for the disabled in Kuala Lumpur to run out of monthly expenses. Upon knowing the situation, Tzu Chi Kuala Lumpur and Selayang chapter immediately delivered daily supplies to them.
The shopping cart is filled with rice and other materials and is ready to be sent to a home for disabled elderly in Kuala Lumpur. The home is a non-profit organization and the pandemic has caused it to run out of money, so it has to seek outside assistance. Tzu Chi received a report from a concerned person and immediately prepared for the distribution of materials.
I received this report that day. I immediately came here in the afternoon on the same day to learn about their plight from the director, to understand what they need.
Currently, there are 18 elders in the care home, some of whom have limited mobility. Their daily lives are all managed by the director and an Indonesian helper.
If we have any difficulties, we will post it on Facebook seeking help. These supplies probably can last for about 3 weeks.
As the pandemic continues, these charitable actions continue and supplies are urgently sent to those in need.
With schools suspended and dining at restaurants is forbidden, many industries have been greatly affected by the pandemic. Because of classes cancellation, the catering industry has lost 90 million NT dollars in a single day. Even farmers have been affected, causing the whole supply chain to suffer. Follow our reports as we learn more.
请同学把练习完成。第二题，请你读题。
There are only a handful of teachers as students use video at home, can't attend classes due to the third-level COVID alert. Only a few school lunches are needed for teachers and students who can't study at home.
The number of lunches is really small, only for a few children and their teachers.
What was supposed to be a full truck now only has a small number of lunch boxes.
There is a big difference, and some cooks are now taking a rest.
There are 1.8 million students in Taiwan's primary and secondary schools. Based on a lunch fee of 50 NT dollars per person per day, the group catering industry loses 90 million NT dollars a day. After deducting the days before summer vacation, classes were suspended for a total of 32 days from May 19th to July 2nd, as a short-term income loss was nearly 3 billion NT dollars.
At the moment, I went blank for about a minute.
The nutritious school lunch that is usually supplied to schools uses this kind of cooking device. The company supplies 38,000 servings a day. Because of the COVID Level 3 alert, students do not go to school for class. These baskets for delivery are almost all empty now.
During the winter and summer vacations every year, there are also camps and some tutoring. So we have at least about 1/3 of the children during the winter and summer vacations each year. And 1/3 of us are still in operation, but this year is different.
Tong Yuxian purchased a quick refrigeration system last year. He thought that even there's no nutritious school lunch, he could make food packages which could be heated up. This was quite handy.
Nowadays, many people don't know how to cook at all, If there's no time to cook, we can make products that can be heated up.
For a student at school, I help him prepare about 850 to 950 grams. But at home, you help your child cook lunch, which will not be so diverse. There will be no tofu, no vegetables, so the demand for ingredients is reduced. One day of nutritious school lunch that is affected by the suspension of classes affect about 250 metric tons of vegetables.
Originally, caterers were supposed to make nutritious lunches, but now there is no need to supply schools. These organic vegetables do not meet the market's specifications, with most direct impacts being farmers' livelihood.
When classes were suspended due to the pandemic, it was quite chaotic, and to be honest, we really didn't know what to do.
We invite someone to come and harvest, which would thousands of NT dollars. Plus, we have to pre-cool and freeze it, but no one wants it. I had to ask someone to move it out and throw it away.
Chen Wenze had cultivated vegetables for 4 consecutive weeks. Because he supplies the catering industry, as long as the standard is healthy and organic, it can be shipped in boxes, and size and appearance didn't matter. However, put into small packages for direct sales to consumers may make his product rejected as he can't compete.
The packaging specification means it has to be more beautiful and has no pests, and the packaging has to be beautiful. We may be categorized as B product that is used to added value processing.
I have never encountered this before. It's terrifying. If there was a typhoon, it would last for at most 3 days. But the pandemic has not been controlled. It is a big test for packaging on site and the physical strength of our employees.
The contract signed by the catering industry and farmers does not guarantee the entire purchase. As soon as the pandemic hit, all contracts had become abandoned.
Most of the manufacturers which we signed a contract with did not discuss a guaranteed quantity, so when we do not provide food, we did not need to order food. Of course, the loss would be the supplier, as these farmers lost more.
For larger caterers, employees are diverted to other work and don't do school lunches but pick vegetables and cooperate with e-commerce companies to make vegetable boxes.
It takes 3 to 5 days to reach consumers. Vegetables cannot be stored. Some of them we turned into frozen vegetables. Some may even rot, such as these leafy vegetables. Later, we discussed it a little bit internally, as it seemed we can use our refrigerated trucks to help with logistics.
Pandemic disrupted orders as many farmers and caterers have been swallowed up in such changes as everyone is quickly learning how to adapt in the face of these difficult times.
At Sanchongjing Sea Hall, which is one of the vaccination sites in the Liu Taipei city, used fans and ice cubes to cool off the non-on-site medical personnel and people waiting to receive vaccines. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you and see you next time.